Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, Melvin Taylor, and you are tuned in to my radio show, The Alternative with Melvin Taylor, and this is the TV version. Now, you may recognize me from a few reaction videos on the internet or from seeing some local improv. Either way it goes, this radio show is dedicated to you guys. We like to talk about what's going on in music, entertainment, more, while also having some very cool interviews at the same time. So definitely check it out. Let me know what you think. You can find me on social media, Melvin Taylor II, or find the radio show, The Alt with Mel, on social as well. And just hit me up and let me know, all right? I'll see you guys soon and enjoy the show. Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your man, Melvin Taylor Jr., a.k.a. Melvin Taylor II, and you are tuned in to The Alternative with Melvin Taylor II. How y'all been, man? It's so good to be back on the airwaves with y'all. Remember, you are tuned in on WHCR 90.3 FM, New York, the voice of Harlem. Man, it's so good to be here. Weather in New York is still great. Summertime New York. It ain't summertime shy, but it's still really good, though. I'm not hating on it whatsoever. It's been amazing to me. Real nice, man. We done had a lot happen this past week. Jaden Smith dropped a new album on IGTV. We was actually just talking about that. And Jaden, I'll gladly wait until you put that out on streaming services in like 2 months or so, bro. I'm definitely with you on the Sire tip that you named me your last album, but I can't sit there and listen to the whole thing on IGTV. I'm not there yet. I know they're trying to make that into their YouTube, but I'm not super into it all the way just yet. But the guest that I have here today, actually, someone who he pretty much broke some news on how IGTV was going to be rolled out and something big that was going to happen on it. But due to him breaking this story, this didn't end up happening, unfortunately. But it will come at a certain point in time. I still got faith in that. And then aside from that, he's just a good dude all around. He's been an amazing person that I met ever since I came to New York City. Treats everybody right that I've ever came across. So if you hear anybody that ever says that he's bogus by any way, shape, or form, tell them they can come see me and we can talk about that. My man, Brandon Scooby Robinson.
What's up, Chief?
How you doing, bro?
I love you because I'm in Harlem at almost after midnight and probably past my bedtime.
It more than likely is. From how long I've known you, this is definitely way past your bedtime. Appreciate it, though.
You're welcome, man.
Most definitely
glad to be on your platform and keep it real.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So how you? Everything been good?
Everything's been good. I'm home, so you know.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Good.
Said he was in Uptown all day today anyway. So I was like, good. Let's go ahead and just end the night off right. Stop by the radio station.
Of course.
Make sure everything go well.
Everything good.
I see you got your Wyoming sweatshirt on.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to, first before we even do that, did you hear the Ye album? Because I've seen a lot of people that's like, oh, I didn't wear it, and they ain't heard nothing yet. Have you heard some of it?
Parts of it.
Oh, you heard parts of it. Do you like those parts that you've heard?
I do, but you know, I think bigger than all that, I think I understood where Kanye was coming from. I think,
really?
Well, let me clarify.
Do you think?
I think oftentimes when you are establishing yourself as a consistent voice within the realm of media and or music or entertainment at large, there comes a point where sometimes you get stale, whether you've rubbed certain people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And sometimes, a lot of times controversy sells.
Yeah.
And he was definitely playing all of y'all, particularly with the Donald Trump rhetoric.
Yeah.
But I also think when you look at the inner workings of everything, I mean, around the same time he was promoting his music and tweeting, ranting, etc. His wife met with current U.S. President Donald Trump and got someone amnestied and out of jail. And Pusha T put a certain album out in between, or a diss track as well on Drake, and then Drake came out with Scorpion. So I think Kanye has a diabolical mind of a Gemini. Ask me how I know. I'm a Gemini. So I think oftentimes, I really think Kobe Bryant was meant to be a Gemini, but he is a Virgo, and so is my mom and my stepfather. So I get him.
Yeah, I was gonna say my girl's Virgo too. Now that I understand her so much, I'm like, I get it.
Yeah,
it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. So no, I did not listen to the whole album. Did listen to parts of it, but the parts I did listen to in and out the car, making some runs, errands, etc. I was pleased, and I think Kanye is just creating that sound that is weird that appeals to many. And I think that when you look at hip hop at large, hip hop has always been groundbreaking in creating what is different. Hip hop is no longer sagging your pants, shooting people, moving weight.
Right.
I think there's an evolution, and hip hop is pop culture. Hip hop is pop. And I think that when you looked at hip-hop in the 80s and the 90s, where we were trying to identify ourselves on Yo MTV Raps, where we were trying to identify ourselves in various platforms when they wouldn't let us in, it's now been accepted. And I think that Kanye is being the face of what's next, or the new school, in addition to other people like Kendrick, in addition to Drake, in addition to all of those people. They all looked at Jay, they all looked at Puff, they all looked at Big, Pac, etc. And a lot of folks are solidifying, themselves and who they are. And I think when you hit 2020, you're going to see that solidification and that rule for a little while.
So bringing up 2020, do you think Kanye gonna run? No. Okay, thank God.
Playing with y'all again.
I find it interesting that you said that. He was like, "Yo, he was really playing y'all," because I could definitely see that. It just makes me. It still bothers me a certain way, because obviously, I'm from home. I'm from Chicago, but it just bothers me a certain way to be like, bro, you ain't really got to do it like this, though. Like, why?
Well, you look at politics. I think when you look at, President Obama, I think President Obama, the 44th president of the United States, made it attainable for people to become president. I think mainly because
Kanye said, according to him, Trump made it that way.
He made it attainable for Trump. Mm-hmm. But I also think that Ronald Reagan made it attainable for Trump.
True.
But I think Ronald Reagan had more field experience in politics than Trump.
100% agree.
But I'll add that Donald Trump represents the independent and the brand makers of today, which fits where we are as a society now. Brand controversy. And I also think that, Donald Trump running all of his entities in office is a form of running politics. It's just not formal politics in the U.S.
Yeah.
I'm not a Trump supporter. I did vote for Hillary Clinton, the lesser of two evils, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I understand him as it relates to reality shows like The Apprentice.
Yeah.
Appearing on WWE and more. So
No, I feel that 100%. And briefly, I mean, I kind of want to get into it a little bit more later on. I want to just touch on it now because you already brought it up. You were just talking about the whole Pusha T releasing a certain diss track over at our man over at OVO, Jersey Drake. What did you think of the whole beef as how it all went down? I got some more info that I want to talk about later in the trending topic segment, but for right now, I just want to get your quick thoughts on it.
I think that in a lot of respects, Drake was handled by Pusha T the way Drake handled Meek.
Yeah.
I think the difference is you looked at Drake and you thought he was a square who didn't have bars. Here's the thing. Meek had bars. Meek just had bars that the mainstream are just not going to relate to.
Yeah.
And I think that Drake barked up a tree messing with a real lyricist who had everything to win because lyrically Drake was not Quentin Miller couldn't save him. And I mean that with all due respect. I'm on the rise. I'm sure he'll dig that up later and say this guy right here. But listen, man, Quentin Miller couldn't save him, and I think that at the end of the day, I think Pusha T is the lunchroom table's anthem.
I get that. Grinding.
I mean, I stayed up many nights. Writing papers, on deadline in college, etc. We're grinding, and I think that the reason why Pusha T was successful is because he picked his spots, and when he was talking, Meek did too much talking.
I agree.
And the talking that he was doing was over a woman.
Yeah. And
also, I think Drake got a little too personal. It kind of goes back to when we were.
You saying, I don't want to cut you off. Are you saying too personal in the Meek one, or are you saying too personal in this one?
The Pusha one.
Okay.
He got too personal talking about his fiance.
Well, you could technically say he got personal bringing up Nicki, even though it's a relationship between those two. But
respect your elders. I think at the end of the day, you know how there's certain people you have your wits about you and you can play the dozens, but there's certain folks.
Yeah, certain. You just leave them alone.
Like in an open space, I'm not guarding Allen Iverson.
Right.
In an open space, I'm not guarding Kyrie.
Yeah.
I'll take Al Korver.
Definitely.
And I think 100%. The same goes for Pusha T. I think, in that open space lane, Drake needed to pick his spots a little more wisely, and he didn't.
Most definitely. All right, well, hey, Brandon, we're going to keep you around a little bit more so that way we can talk some more hip-hop and definitely some more NBA because LeBron officially signed his contract today, baby. So let's go, Laker Nation. We all here. Kyle, I already see you. I already see your nose back there flared up. Anyway, shout out to the Philadelphia 76ers. It's your man Melvin Taylor Jr. right here on the radio with y'all, WHCR 90.3 FM New York. And just bringing up Pusha T, we know you got to play my favorite song from that album, Hard Piano, featuring Rick Ross. Let's do it, The Alternative.
You know what it is, man? It's your boy Saha the Prince, good music partner, and you are now listening to The Alternative.
Yo, man, this your man Melvin Taylor Jr. back one time on the mic. Remember, you are tuned in to WHCR 90.3 FM, New York, the voice of Harlem. Ayo, Meek, bro, hold on, wait a second. Wait a minute. I ain't heard the EP all the way yet, so I played this song as a favor to my guy Kyle because he's from Philly, and he reps Philly until the day that he dies.
The bull.
And as, the song is fire, don't get me wrong. Meek, only reason I'm mad at you right now is because please make this song like the theme music for the 76ers this year and the Eagles this year. That song is too good to not have it get the attention that it deserves. That needs to be I'm not gonna hold the intro song for Dreams Tonight. I'm gonna let that ride because that's classic. You leave that alone. But for 2018 and 2019, these upcoming next 2 years, go ahead and just switch that up and put that song out there because that needs to be done, man. Remember, you're tuned into The Alternative. I got my man Brandon Scoop B. Robinson here on the program with us now. Mr. Scoop B, can you tell us how you got your start? Net Slamming Planet, if that is correct. Yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
12-year-old co-host, auditioned in Chelsea Pier, Manhattan. Was one of hundreds of kids, and the Lord blessed me, and it's kept me grounded to this day. But I co-host a show called Net Slamming Planet with former Net Albert King, brother of Knicks legend Bernard King, excuse me.
Shout out to Pops, that's his favorite player. And
did it with Lynn Wilson. It was executive produced by Chris Carino, who's the voice of the Nets on the radio now. Did it with Evan Roberts, who is on WFAN here in New York City.
Yeah.
And that was kind of how I got my start. Did it for 2 years. Was featured on NBA Inside Stuff with Ahmad Rashad and Willow Bay.
Right.
And, interviewed a lot of players. Knew Stephen A. when he was covering the Sixers for the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Yeah.
And Chris Broussard when he was covering the Nets and the Knicks for, the New York Times. So
that's wild. Shout out to both of them. I've been able to meet Stephen A. Haven't been able to meet Chris Broussard just yet, but I watch all the stuff on FS1, and he's been a favorite of mine for some time. Now, just being a kid at that point and really being, let me use the phrase, thrown into it in a sense, and just having to pick up and just go and say, okay, yes, I'm still taking direction from everybody, but being able to be poised at such a young age and still carry out the job that they wanted you to be able to do. Can you just tell me about some of the preparation that you went through to be able to do that, or even just some of the advice that you got so that way you could be sure that you did a good job at doing it?
I think pretty much being poised at a young age had a lot to do with my parents accompanying me to a lot of arena games and just, to the studio. But also preparation, just, back then interviewing was a practice on the way to the arena in the car, looking up interesting things. You're a Chicago guy, so back then I was interviewing Kendall Gill. I remember when he was on the TV show My Brother and Me.
Also, shout out to Kendall Gill, because Kendall Gill worked out with my little bro right before he went down to school, and he was like, "Hey, yo, this little dude what school you going to? Let me check in so I can get some game for him, because you can really do your thing." But definitely shout out to Kendall.
For sure.
And My Brother and Me, because that was a dope show.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. My Brother and Me, man. So, Kendall and, former net Jason Williams, he had the unfortunate shooting accident, shot his limo driver. Had a good relationship with him. And just developing relationships. When I was 12, I was hearing a lot of conversations in locker rooms that I probably should have been having at 12. And then on the visitor side, got to know Reggie Miller, Met Michael Jordan in the locker room when I was a kid. Met Phil Jackson, Dennis Rodman, Sean Kemp, Karl Malone, John Stockton. Just, those early experiences, just being comfortable around athletes. Tim Duncan, Grant Hill, 'cause the list goes on and on. But, yeah.
And I bet that helps out a lot nowadays because even with, like, some folks that I see who do reporting or sports reporting in general, you can kind of tell when some people are really much fans of somebody and not doing as well of a job reporting as they could be, or not, maybe not even say that, just not being as biased about something as they could be. And do you think at all that experience that you had when you were a kid kind of helped you out to today to say, you know what, while I can still be a fan of someone, I can separate my fandom from doing the work that I need to do?
Yeah, I think that, but I'll take it a step further. I'm in Harlem. I split time in my childhood between Harlem and New Jersey.
I was going to get into it. Go ahead. Let us know.
And, my family owned a sneaker store and a shoe store on 125th and Lenox Ave. Where the Whole Foods is, we used to own that building.
Yeah.
And I used to see a lot of players coming in and out, like Mike Tyson, the Wayans brothers, Dizzy Gillespie, jazz legend, Hakeem Olajuwon, Dominique Wilkins, Clyde Drexler. So for me, being around these people and, just being comfortable. I remember being a kid and sitting in a sneaker store and seeing posters of just like Rex Chapman. I remember sitting in
Rex Chapman. Yeah. Shout out to the home.
And I remember when there used to be a debate in the sneaker store all the time whether Rex Chapman should be on the store wall or not, his poster. Kind of like in Do the Right Thing, where they were wondering if Larry Bird or Magic Johnson should stay in the pizzeria wall. And, I remember people like, no, you can't have Rex Chapman on the wall. And my mother said, yes, you can. They were like, why? I said, because Rex Chapman is a bad white boy. And
that same thing my dad said about him, too.
And the funny thing is, when I was a kid, I think at the time, Rex was playing, he might have been playing for the Suns. And this, again, the whole bad white boy conversation was something that was said when I was like 4 or 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I ran into the locker room at 12, and I shook his hand. I said, Rex, my mom said you a bad white boy. And he fell out laughing. So, like, little things like
That's
that, man. It's like that set the foundation. Or seeing Derek Coleman in the BK Diamond Cell commercial.
Yeah.
And being able to reach out to Derek if I need something, and knowing his wife worked for the Nets organization at the time.
Shout out to her.
So Gina Coleman, if you listening, hey girl.
What up, Gina?
But no, I mean that foundation was actually set in the sneaker store, and also. And again, Harlem, my uncle was commissioner of parks for Riverbank State Park, and a lot of guys who played in the NBA that came from the city. Ross Strickland, Kenny Anderson, Mark Jackson, Kenny the Jet Smith.
Yeah.
They knew my Uncle Billy. My Uncle Billy was the person who introduced me to basketball. And then also my stepfather being from the west side of Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, he the two of them introduced me. So, being able to, I had Rod Strickland on my podcast, Scoop B Radio, which you guys can subscribe on Google Play, TuneIn app, Stitcher app, Apple Podcasts, or visit scoopbradio.com.
Go listen to it because he's always dropping some new exclusive information, ladies and gentlemen. You do not want to miss it.
We got 2 million downloads last year.
Okay, just you want to pick that up because you feel like you dropped that.
No.
Okay,
but the point I'm making is, the connection to Rod Strickland, who ironically is also Kyrie Irving's godfather. Just talking about that whole Bronx, Uptown connection, and also Kenny Smith, which was a viral interview that we had on Scoopy Radio that hit ESPN The Jump. Those relationships were fostered through just my early years of just the connection to the game. So, the culture, I'm not just in tune to the game, but the culture that's wrapped in it as well.
Yeah. So before we even get more into the game and the business and how you were able to build yourself up into today by talking about some of the stories that helped to highlight you, went viral, and push you forward, I do want to talk about, since it's a mostly hip-hop show, and at some point we're going to get into mostly sports because, like I said, LeBron signed his contract today, so I'm ecstatic. I do want to talk about your experience in the hip-hop world.
Sure.
Because you're somebody who's written for a number of publications. In the same way in which you're breaking these news stories over in sports, a lot of folks will say, oh, okay, he's just a sports journalist. But before that, you were doing it as a journalist and reporter overall. So just tell us, like, the influence that hip-hop has had on you and how it also helped you to get to where you are today.
I mean, hip-hop is I love hip-hop. I think, if I wasn't covering sports or basketball in particular, I'd be covering hip-hop.
Yeah.
I think for me, again, being in a sneaker store and being around culture, seeing – I told you I split time between New York and New Jersey. On the Jersey side, Queen Latifah, Naughty by Nature, and some of those other guys. But then on the New York side, Jay-Z is my favorite rapper. Also Dipset, particularly Cameron, and all those guys.
Killer.
I think that the way that I've gone about covering sports, I've used hip hop and the intersection between sports and hip hop to cover what's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like even having Rod Strickland on and talking about rap songs that mentioned his name. You know, where he was the first time he heard that. That's interesting. But I also think that when I look at hip hop and at large, I think that I had a chance to be a staff writer at the Source magazine and break stories in sports through the Source magazine, but also break news as a managing editor and columnist at Respect magazine. In particular, 2 years ago when Lupe Fiasco was actually pulled over by the hip hop police, the NYPD's hip hop police task force, and was the pulling over of that was actually mentioned in Billboard and some of those other things. Hip hop is news now.
Yeah.
Hip hop is not just hip hop, and there are layered elements to it. So I think, to be honest with you, basketball is my passion, but because I don't think major news organizations were paying, as my mother and my sister would say, paying me no attention. They weren't paying me any attention. I had to go to what was familiar and or which was showing me the time of day. And, during my time at the Source and during my time at Respect magazine, I was still able to maintain, journalistic integrity. I think a lot of times people just post things, but there's still the basic fundamentals and the schematics of, a lead to your story, citing sources or finding the right way to cite sources, attributing quotes the right way, just knowing how to write long form versus short form, and those tactical things are so important.
Yeah.
And it kept me in practice, to the point where I ended up in between Respect and the Source. I was at CBS Sports Radio and CBS Local Sports, and was a columnist there. Appeared on CBS This Morning.
Yeah.
I had a top rated podcast called Brown and Scoop,
Yes,
which
you
you were a
did.
producer of.
Oh, yeah,
So
definitely.
I think those things, whatever you're consistent in, your talent will make room for you. So we love hip hop, but I definitely think I'm the intersection between sports and culture at large.
I feel that. So tell me, just give me 3 quick stories right now, and we can go into this a little bit more after this break that we take in a second. But give me 3 quick stories. What are, from some of the people that you've covered, what are 3 of your favorite stories where you've heard something interesting that you was like, oh, I didn't know that before, or when somebody gave you the full story and you're just kind of like, oh, that's how that played out. If you got 3 of them on your head, just give us those real quick.
The Space Jam thing, which we'll talk about.
We will definitely get into
and
that.
LeBron James, that's one.
Yeah.
2 would probably be the time that during the CBS era, we had Rashawn McLeod on, and he talked about the time that Michael Jordan scored 48 points on Jerry Stackhouse while singing Anita Baker's "Giving You the Best That I Got."
I still remember that story. That is so hilarious. So can you please just expand upon that for some of the folks at home?
All right, so Rashawn McLeod played for the NBA briefly, solid college basketball player.
Yeah, definitely.
Played on the Sixers with Jerry Stackhouse, and during that time at CBS, we had a show called Brown and Scoop, and essentially we would just ask people if they had their favorite Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant stories, and Rashawn said his favorite Michael Jordan story was the time that Michael Jordan sang Anita Baker's "Giving You the Best That I Got" while he was scoring 48 points on Stackhouse. And what ended up happening was I got a call. Basically, I was told that that Jerry Stackhouse called Rashawn and cursed him out. And then maybe a few months later, TMZ found Stack in the airport and asked him if it was true, and he said it was false. And I'll just say that one of the benefits of being at the Source is mailing lists. And I got a hold of Jerry Stackhouse's number. I'll leave it like that. And got in touch with Stack, and Stack came on the show and said that didn't happen. And then we talked about a bunch of other things like coaching and just his Fila Spaghetti sneakers and a myriad of other things. And Stack cleared it up. So I think that was just a long form essay on who cares, but it was funny. He made his way to ESPN, made his way to Sports Nation on Jamel Hill, and Michael Smith talked about it, and a myriad of different other blogs.
Yeah.
The last one.
One more before we go to some music. Giving you the
I guess, and you'll appreciate this. Kendall Gill told me one time that the Nets were playing the Bulls. This was like towards the end of Michael's run in the 90s.
Okay.
And
so late 90s.
Yeah, Jim Jackson was scoring heavy on Michael.
Okay. Late 90s.
Yeah. And so Jim was a net at that time. And the Nets won that game. But the previous game, the Bulls blew him out like maybe a week earlier. Kendall told me that during, I guess, after Jimmy scored, Michael looked at him and said, Jimmy, you talk a lot of bleak for somebody who's wearing my sneakers on the court right now. So for me, stuff like that is funny.
Yo, it is. It is. You know what? Michael Jordan is a level of petty that a lot of people can never reach. And I'm so glad that we got people that's just around like that, just to be like, yeah, you can do all that, but what you wearing?
Or
all
Horace
right,
Grant. Man. I asked Horace, what was Michael like in practice? And he told me Michael was the devil.
I could believe it.
So you appreciate. I think sometimes you appreciate the candor of teammates. Sometimes the candor of the teammate or the coach or the water boy is more intense or more contextually on point than the star themselves. Rod Strickland told me a couple weeks ago that Kyrie Irving would dominate the NBA in the 90s.
Yeah.
Just a week ago, John Starks, former Knicks, told me that Draymond Green would be
he'd get checked.
Would get checked in the 90s.
I feel like Grayson Allen. That's probably going same thing. But yeah, I feel what you're saying
for sure. So I mean, you just you love candor. I think one of my favorite interviews of all time, and we consistently talk, is Charles Barkley because he is a reporter's dream.
Yeah. Yes, I can believe that. I can definitely believe that. Charles give you whatever you need, and even if you don't need something, he'll still give you some more to work with.
Right. And then, I mean, on the music side, Royce the 5'9", telling me that, he believed Big L was a better lyricist than Jay-Z.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that, but Jay lived a longer time and had longevity in his career and, takes pictures with fine-ass Beyonce.
He definitely does. I mean, somebody can be like, hey, Jay, can you hoop it all? He just sent a picture of Beyonce, be like, it don't matter. I scored in life. So remember, this is The Alternative with your man, Melvin Taylor, I. As a matter of fact, bringing up Hove, let's get into a little of that on the show, all right? I Just Want to Love You. Let's do it, The Alternative.
Boy, Drummer Boy, a.k.a. D-Boy Fresh, man, and you listening to me right here on The Alternative.
Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your man, Melvin Taylor Jr. We are back one time with y'all on WHCR 90.3 FM, New York, the voice of Harlem. There we go. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, Melvin Taylor, I, and you are tuned into my radio show, The Alternative with Melvin Taylor, and this is the TV version. Now, you may recognize me from a few reaction videos on the internet or from seeing some local improv. Either way it goes, this radio show is dedicated to you guys. We like to talk about what's going on in music, entertainment, more, while also having some very cool interviews at the same time. So definitely check it out. Let me know what you think. You can find me on social media, Melvin Taylor II, or find the radio show, The Alt with Mel, on social as well. And just hit me up and let me know, all right? I'll see you guys soon and enjoy the show.